morning. Welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Salt Lake City. Oh my goodness. Would y'all just look at yourselves? You're beautiful. You're beautiful. If you are joining us for the first time today, you are our honored guest, and we are so glad that you're here. I invite you to stop by the welcome table just outside this door, introduce yourselves to us, let us tell you who we are and what we're about. If you're joining us online, welcome to you. Welcome to our friends from the Unitarian Universalist Church of Ogden. Hi, Ogden. Woohoo! So glad you could be with us today. Thank you. We are so pleased to welcome people of all ages to our chapel for an intergenerational service today. It's still a little new for us. There will be more wiggles in here today than we're accustomed to, but wiggles and little noises are the sound of a growing church. And so we welcome children and families with patience and excitement for the future that's in store for us. Now, creating intergenerational community means being present to the needs of all and making accommodations for each other. So a couple of requests. We do ask that everyone of all ages stay in or at least near your seats until you're invited to stand or move. Adults, I'm looking at you. Try to stay in your seats, okay? Also, loud sounds do make it harder for some people to hear, especially in a very live room like this one. So if you are responsible for a small person who needs to take a break, I want you to feel free to do so. You can use the door behind you, or you can use this door to the side, and our greeters will be happy to escort you to a nursery where you can watch the service, or to an outside space where you can run around a little bit. We also have hearing assistance devices. If you are a person who needs a little extra help hearing, our greeters will be happy to show you how those work. Now, perhaps you've noticed that each pew has an envelope with leaves and pens. Don't touch them. Don't touch them. We will use them later in the service. Big people, please keep them safe from the hands of your smaller charges until the moment arrives. Now, a couple of regular church announcements. First, a reminder that if you haven't taken our congregational survey, you have until September 25th to do that. We have, not enough people have filled it out. Part of it is just that we're still kind of getting started with the church year. Another reason, though, hetero couples, listen to me. We have a lot of women who have filled out the survey, and the men have not. Don't ask your wife to do this. You got to do it too. Okay? Every person, because it's asking you personal questions about your faith journey, your demographics, etc. So each person who's a member, please fill out the survey. And we have a table set out in Elliott Hall where you could knock it out today. I want to give you one more reminder to please register for a small group. Even if you participated in the past, even if you've been in the same group since the Nixon administration, please register for your small group so we know how many people we've got. Same goes for religious education. We do that registration every year, so we need you to fill out your forms. And your treat is that immediately after this service, we have potluck out on the playground. So that's your reward for filling out your registration forms, okay? Now, one last thing, I just want to take this opportunity to thank all of our volunteers who came out yesterday to represent our congregation at the Avenue Street Fair, especially Derek Giersdorf and Jim Catano. Y'all really made it happen. Thank you. And if you are here today because you heard something at the fair yesterday that made you curious, Well, a very special welcome to you. And now I'd like to turn things over for just a moment to our Director of Religious Education, Amanda Esko, for a special announcement.
Well, good morning, friends. My name is Amanda Esko, in case you don't know, and I am our Director of Religious Education here at First Church. And this morning, we want to take a few moments to honor the work of our Religious Education Assistant, Lissa Lander. Lissa, can you come join me, please? Join us, please. As most of you know, Lissa is leaving us this year. And while we are excited for her, we are going to desperately miss her on staff. After David, Lissa was the most senior member of staff here at First Church. A lot of what Lissa's work has done here has gone unseen, but has been deeply felt by us all. As I like to say, there are no magic fairies creating the work and completing the tasks. And Lissa has done so many of those tasks here. From creating the art you see in Little Chapel, to organizing endless closets, creating all of the content for Facebook and Instagram over the last few years, cleaning up the kitchen, holding hands of tiny humans who are sad, driving teens all over, including once letting them take her car to the desert for a weekend, to coming back to the church after an ever so long night to triple check that the oven is off. It was not. Lissa has done all of these things and so much more. Lissa, thank you for your ministry in our community. You have given us all so much. Your creativity, joy, enthusiasm, and willingness to jump in to help in any area is a gift to us all. Thank you. Speaking of gifts, we have this for her to open later, but we want to welcome you back to the pews and to the choir seats. And I promise that I will not ask you for a very long time to clean up the supply room. It is my solemn vow. Thank you, Lissa. Everyone give Lissa a big hand.
Now, let us breathe in the mystery of this moment. People of all ages, from many paths, gathered together in one community, being human together, being here for each other, celebrating all that our life together is and can be, building up something for those coming along behind us, reaching out hands to receive what was built up for us. A church for all generations. I invite you now to rise in body or in spirit as we sing together hymn number 298.
I lied in the confessional. I was 8 years old, and all day I knew that I'd have to go to confession, and I dreaded it. My greatest desire was to please the adults in my life, my parents, my teachers, my priest. But I just simply could not think. I knew I was expected to be repentant, but I could not think of a sin I'd committed since my last confession. But I knew I had to have sinned. All through recess on the hard pavement of the church parking lot and all the way to the confessional, my brain searched for sin. But ultimately, I made something up. I can't really remember what it was that I said that I did, but I do remember that day. I remember hoping that the penance that I was given, a few Hail Marys and a few Our Fathers, was good enough to cover the sin I had just committed. Looking back on this now, it's with a touch of sadness and a bit more anger. I question not just the concept of sin, but the way that I was made to feel like a sinful being. This had pretty much been true since about the age of 7. I guess before then, baptism had me covered. But you see, Catholics believe that you are born in sin. And it wasn't clear to me exactly what that sin was, even after 12 years of parochial school religion classes. The nuns at Divine Redeemer, my elementary school, had warned us that our thoughts and our actions could be sinful if we didn't sit straight, listen, and follow God's commandments. But it always felt as if they believed that we would inevitably mess up because we were sinners. I wonder how different that time could have been had they stressed the original blessing instead of original sin. The original blessing of life, of the earth, of the people around us. My family, all 13 kids, didn't belong to Divine Redeemer Parish. We lived about 14 miles away, and we went to Holy Apostles Parish. These two churches could not have been more different. Divine Redeemer had hard wooden pews, kind of like the ones you're sitting in. At Holy Apostles, we had cushioned chairs. We had a guitar mass. We had amplifiers. So they sang and clapped and talked about bringing joy into the world. And there was joy there. But there was also sin, and we were reminded of that at every Mass. I considered myself Catholic, even with sparse attendance, until graduate school, when I took a class in epistemology. How do we know what we know? It kind of just asking this question and the fact that I could ask that question just blew my mind. Suddenly, all the irritations that I'd had with Catholicism became a full-blown rash. And mostly the role of women. The fact that women were blamed for and paid the price in blood and pain for the sins of the world. How any sexual misconduct was the woman's responsibility for not behaving properly. I really began to question my entire faith and whether or not I believed in original sin. I've considered these issues a lot over the years, and I can only conclude that the men of the early church were envious of women, of our ability to create life, mirroring the original creation of life. This was so threatening to them that they had to balance the act. So they used guilt and they used shame, and those are very powerful weapons. But now I can shed that interpretation. I am a woman. I am a creator of life, and I am a blessing. All of us are blessings to each other through our actions and simply in who we are. Changing the perspective to one of original blessing opens us up to truly be ourselves, to bless each other, to live in joy in our bodies and our relationships. But being a blessing also comes with some responsibility. How can we bless others? What in you is needed? Because this community, this city, this state, and goodness knows this country and this planet needs you. What I wish I could say to that 8-year-old girl who was searching for her sins is that she can stop searching. She can look at herself and she can see all that is blessed in her. Her kindness, her thoughtfulness, her passion, and her beauty. She is the product of love, and her gift is to share that love with the world.
Yeah. Service is ended. We'll be taking coffee. It's really tough to follow. So I am going to talk a little bit about this ritual that we're going to do and a little bit about what is happening. This is an intergenerational service that we are going to do once a month where everyone is invited. There are no other classes. It's all here. We're here together. We're going to sing together and pray together and cry together and laugh together, all the things, which is amazing. And but to do that, we have different needs. So we're going to be getting up, sitting down, so that we don't have to always stay in our seat. When we were talking it out, though, my one request was this can't be like a little dog and the pony, dog, what do you call it? Puppy in the window show, right? Like where we just sort of bring the kids up and we're like, oh my God, they're so cute. Because that's not really intergenerational, right? That's part of it. That's one of the generations. But each service, we're designing it so that all of you are fed, truly. All of you are fed, which is a little bit difficult. It's harder. But we're going to strive for it. We really believe it can be done. So these are in the envelopes at the end of your pew. I'm not going to tell you what they're for yet, but you will find them. You will see them. They will be used. But just know that if you have some friends who have a family and you want them to come and check it out, this is a great service. It's happening once a month. We'll let you know. Invite your friends and come and dance and sing and bless one another. We're really excited to try this with you once a month. Thank you so much.
Wherever we are, wherever life takes us, we long to come home again, to be with the ones we love and the ones who love us. Many congregations celebrate an ingathering or homecoming on a Sunday soon after Labor Day, a time of reconnecting with our home base, our church community. Sometimes, when I feel lonely or worried or scared, I like to put my hand on my heart. You can do this too if you like. Just put your hand on your heart and just feel your breathing. Your breath is a home you can go to when you're not sure where home is. It is a home for us no matter how far we are from home. Your breath is a blessing. Your heartbeat underneath your breath is a blessing. What does that mean, a blessing? Well, it could mean many things, but for me, a blessing is something beautiful that makes me grateful. That's it. I know when I feel gratitude that I've been blessed. The sound of the bell, the breath in my lungs, the beating of my heart. Blessings. The warmth of a hug, the sound of laughter or little children talking, the words of a friend. Blessings. On the first chilly morning, that first day that we pull on a sweater to go outside, the first day that the wind blows the red leaves around our feet, we'll feel blessed. The first snowflake, a blessing. Justice, too, is a blessing. A wrong turned to right, a person's suffering eased, a burden lifted. These are great blessings. Each of you here is a blessing to me, to each other. Your life matters. Your life matters. What you do matters. And you have the power to heal others with your blessing. Take one more breath if you want. If you want. One more breath. Feel that blessing. And feel yourself blessed. Amen.
So last year in staff, and well, really with some of you as well, I've been talking about how do we know what our role is? Because actually if we know what our role is, then actually the group works better, the organism works better, right? So if I know that Amanda knows what her role is, I don't have to think about it at all. We're just partners and we're traveling, and Monica's got her part covered and David's got her part covered, and I just have to worry about covering my part, which is, some days. And that makes it makes us work as a team, right? Because we just know that we can trust that everybody's doing their part. And one of the other additional conversations we've been having in this congregation is about what's your role, right? We've created these teams. We're talking a little bit more about how do we increase the desire and involvement for wanting to own the place, own it. It's really yours, truly. And so we've been talking about giving you more opportunities for just leadership and roles. And so one amazing leadership role I would like to invite you to try on is asking for money here. Okay, that did not land very well. They were like, no. So every week I get up here and I'm like, hey, there's something, let's pass the thing. And, really, we take in most of our money through pledge and stuff like that. But what we go through here is this ritual of giving to the community that we want to be and belong to, right? And so what we're setting up is this opportunity here to actually say why I'm a steward. That's what we're calling it. And you saw some of this last year. It's called Why I Give. But this year we're shifting a little bit. It's why I'm a steward of this community. And in fact, I'm really hoping that this is the last time that I do it. I've signed up a bunch of the board members and a bunch of the finance committee members because I'm mean. But there's actually a bunch of other spots. So if you would like to come up and really share with the community about why you give to this place, why you give your time, why you give your money, why you give just your love for this place, I would like for you to come up and tell people about it. So that's coming up. We've got a next couple of Sundays covered, but if you would be interested in that, please come talk to me. I know it might sound a little intimidating, but maybe you're also quite excited about it because you're like, this is why I give, I used the example earlier, Nikki and Becky came in to practice and rehearse, right? Why did they do it? Well, they love to sing. That's one thing. But also, they love to give to you. They love to give to you so that you just have this experience. That makes them really happy and fulfilled and realized as human beings. So, we'll now collect the offering, right? But, think about what it would be like to come up here and tell the congregation, why you give so much time. I would really love to make space for you there. So, come talk to me afterwards. And now, we will take the offertory. Thank you. Sounds good. So I just checked with Gabe. Yep. He's like, man, that's my first time. You already did call me. And I was like, I have a sermon on Polish theology from the 16th century. He's like, that's my stuff. It's my jam. Gabe, this one's for you. I know. It's not that bad. I really am not doing a sermon on that. So a long time ago, I know I look young, but a long time ago, I was preparing for my visit to what's called the Ministerial Fellowship Committee, which everybody just calls the MFC. And for those of us who are seeking ordination as Unitarian Universalist ministers, we have to do this oral defense, before this committee to certify that we know our history, we know a little bit about pastoral care, we have to preach a sermon, all of the things that a minister might need in their path to serving a congregation. And there's this extensive reading list, like scores of books that you have to read. And Monica read all of them. She did not. Maybe she did. She's a 3 on the Enneagram. You know what that means? So she read them all. I'm a 4, which meant I think I just feel the books. I feel them. And really, the truth is I don't remember most of them. But I do remember this one book by Charles Howe called For Faith and Freedom, A Short History of Unitarianism in Europe. Here's where it gets good, Gabe. But the truth is, I really only remember one line from that book. But it's haunted me for about 20 years. And Charles Howe talked a lot about this early theological shift shortly after the Protestant Reformation in what was called the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, which Gabe can tell you all about, I promise. He's like, stop calling me out, dude. No, I will hang out later, I promise. And it was really just an area in Europe that was very tolerant of different religious views. And like any open and accepting environment, this allowed for a lot of creative thought, expansion of values. And a group appeared in the late 1560s that went by a number of names. They were called the Brethren, Socinians, Arians, which they were named after the 3rd century Christian ascetic Arius, not the other idiots. But the line that has stayed with me, and actually I assume it was really like a throwaway line because it appeared as quickly as it disappeared, was that a number of these people refer to themselves as anti-Trinitarians, meaning they did not believe that Jesus was God. We're familiar with the Trinity, the Father, Son. Yeah, okay. We're a ghost crowd today. Sometimes we're a spirit crowd. I don't know. But anyways, they were like, that's irrational. He was not God. Now, someone in marketing approached the anti-Trinitarians when they were being expelled from Poland in 1658. And they were like, that's really not a good name. And you should join the Unitarian Church in Transylvania, which many of them did. It's a much clearer statement, right? When you're trying to explain your theological orientation, the reason you believe the world works the way it works, it's much easier to say what you're for rather than what you're against. But that one line that some of them referred to themselves as anti-Trinitarians hit me like a slap in the face because many of the churches that I've been a member of or worked for have, in some respect, defined themselves that way. They didn't use the word anti-Trinitarian, right? But they oriented themselves as not like those churches. Or, in our context, not like that church, right? The only other church that's around. And if you ask them what they believe, they would probably tell you something like social justice, which is great, truly. But it also isn't that clear because there are many Christian churches that also believe in the same social justice values that we do and perhaps are even more effective at it when they're organizing for change. It's important to know who you are and what your theological orientation is, what the world that you want to see, and how your faith helps bring us a little closer to that world. It's important to know that. The question that we will be wrestling with this year is, what is our purpose? What's our purpose? Now, you may not have realized it, but last year, our question is, who are we? Who are we? I know, it's a big question. Who are we? Right? But you had a minister here for 34 years, and he wasn't like someone who faded into the background, right? He was a presence. He defined the culture of this place a lot, and now he's not there. And so the question that always happens is like, well, who are we now that Tom is not here? Now, if you're brand new, you're like, I don't know who Tom is. Don't worry. Tom still lingers in a lot of ways. Just like any organization that has what happens when a very strong leader moves, right? So who are we in the post-Tom Goldsmith era was last year's question. Great. This year, what is our purpose? What is our purpose? Is it enough to be a sanctuary from the other churches out there? Because that's an oppositional stance. We're the church that's not them. Or there's the slightly less tragic stance, and I mean slightly, which is we're the church where you can believe whatever you want to believe. Wah, wah. Not true, blatantly untrue. I know, it's true. By a show of hands, this is how I know it's untrue. By a show of hands, how many people are Republicans? Boom, 2. All right, we got 2. No, you're not a Republican, Bernie. Put your hand down. Yeah. Okay. Oh my God, this is a bunch of like anybody but Mike Lee people here who are like, I'm registered Republican. Okay. But seriously, if you are a Republican, you may not raise your hand because at coffee hour you might get a lot of questions. I understand it, right? Because it's actually not a place that is as tolerant sometimes as we like to think we are, right? I don't want to be defined by what I am not, or something that is so wide that it actually has no meaning, right? I want to stand for something in the world. I want purpose. What is our purpose? I recently read this article written by a very confused Episcopalian priest. She'd noticed this trend in her church where more and more young people were coming forward at the end of the service, and instead of receiving communion, they would cross their arms, which is the sign that you would like to receive a blessing. And the priest leans over and touches your head and whispers a blessing in your ear. And I've done this when I've visited Episcopalian churches, because as a raised Unitarian Universalist boy, it always feels weird to take. I'm just like, but the blessing is lovely. It's lovely if you've ever done it. But this priest was confused because in the Anglican tradition, liturgically, the whole service leads up to this one point where you take the Eucharist. And she couldn't understand why people would choose a blessing over communion. But I can. We used to do this very funny thing with the church that I planted in Brooklyn. And that is, every month that there was a 5th Sunday, we took out all the chairs and we had a dance party. Truly, it was a lot of fun. The sermon was shorter, which is also a lot of fun. But there was so much singing and there was dancing. But then we also did a laying on of hands, which might freak some of you out. But let me tell you, it was incredibly popular. Incredibly popular. And we had multiple stations, and people could sit and you would touch their feet, their knees, their shoulders, or their head, and you could just bless them. We didn't say anything, we just sort of touched them, right? Tears would be streaming off of their faces. Tears. Some people would sit for so long that I would have to go over to them and be like, there's people who want this chair. Which is a hard thing to say when someone's like crying, but they've been there for like 5 minutes and you're like, I need the chair. And don't worry, I will not put you through that today. Or ever. I mean, I'm not trying to do that to you. But make no mistake about it, right? People are lonely. People are lonely. They are isolated. No one touches them. Like not in that a creepy way, like I mean in that affectionate, I see you as a human being, we are related, we are together way. The world is overrun with blessings and people are starving. It's not enough simply to be defined by what we are not. You know, marketing will tell you that that doesn't work. But it's also a moral issue, right? What is our purpose in this world of starving people? I want to live amongst the people of blessing, people who are committed to sharing the love and affection and tenderness with the lost and the lonely and the starving of the world, some of whom are sitting in the pew next to you right now. Some of whom are you? Before we move into our ritual, I want to share with you the secret of the religious experience. And the sermons will kind of get there in May or June, but I want to tell you about it now so you know what's coming. It's like, this is the end of the book, right? The religious experience isn't something that you can attain. You can't read about it. You can't learn about it in a class. You can't rehearse it. It happens to you, right? There isn't really a way of manufacturing it for yourself. You can't hold it or store it or hoard it. It's fleeting and ephemeral. But I'll tell you where you can find it. It's found in the gift. If you want to experience it, you have to give it away. That's actually where it's found. Which is contrary to the way that we've been raised. But when you bless the world, what happens is that you are blessed back. You don't need to go to seminary. You don't need to pass the MFC. You don't need any title or skill set to give a blessing. You don't need anything beyond sharing the blessing that you already are, and you are a blessing. All you need is the willingness to bless others. The willingness. And we're going to take a few minutes, maybe in quiet reflection. Just kind of sit with how we want to bless the world. As people of blessing. You know, how might we bless the lonely and the isolated and the starving? Not just those who are starving for food, but for love. For love. People who are starving for love. And when you're ready, I invite you to write down how you're going to bless this world. One of these leaves that are in the envelopes at the end of the pew, and there's pens in the envelopes. And then to go hang it on these the jute that you see strung along the side. If you would like to draw a picture, because you see your blessing as a picture, you are more than welcome to draw a picture. That's also fine. We are people of blessing. May we share who we are and what we believe in this world. I invite you to reflect on that now. Thank you. So, we've got a special treat for our closing hymn. It's a hymn written by our own David Owens. Woo! You see the chorus here, but we're going to do some congregational singing style. Is that right? We're going to still do the same thing? Sometimes I never know. But singers, take your places. And we're going to teach you how to sing this song.
Yeah, we're going to do this as a call and response. And those of you who might not remember the chorus, you're going to learn it really, really fast. So we're not going to spend much time on that. But the verse, we've got 3 singers who are going to help us. Matthew Esko, Nikki Blackburn, and Rebecca Heel. All right. There's the tune. Matthew, sing us the words.
As I learn the power of compassion and love.
As I learn the power of compassion and love. Nikki.
And I see the work that has to be done.
And I see the work that has to be done. Becky.
I will give my whole commitment to the task that's at hand. I will give my whole commitment to the task that's at hand. All of us.
All of us.
Until I start to see that change has begun.
Until I start to see that change has
begun.
Give it to us again, Matt.
As I learn the power of compassion and love.
As I learn the power of compassion and love, and I see the work that has to be done. And I see the work that has to be done. I will give my whole commitment to the task that's at hand. I will give my whole commitment to the task that's at hand. Until I start to see that change has begun.
Put it together.
As I learn the power of compassion and love, and I see the work that has to be done, I will give my whole commitment to the task that's at hand, until I start to see that change has begun. We will go out in the world and we will say who we are. We will lift our voices on and face the tide. There is one prevailing justice and it's ours to uphold. We will go out into the world.
As I learn the power of compassion and love.
And I see the work that has to be done. I will give my whole commitment to the task that's at hand, until I start to see that change has begun. We will go out in the world and we will say who we are. We will lift our voices on and face the tide. There is one prevailing justice and it's ours to uphold. We will go out into the world.
And we will say who we are. We will lift our voices on and face the tide. There is one prevailing justice and it's ours to uphold. We will go out into the
Source of life. God, my darling, inspire us to take what has filled us today and go out into the world and share the gift with those who are hungry, lonely, and isolated. Tell them the story of their inherent worth and dignity, that they are blessings just for being alive. Awaken us to that interdependence, that interwovenness that is beyond life, that is beyond birth and death, where we all find ourselves in the presence. And fill us with grace, so we might be able to lay down the stories that we are against and pick up the stories that we are for, so that we might bless the world and help to bring peace and love and justice and tenderness to those who need it. Amen. LaMalfa, thank you so much for playing with us today. Woo! Over on the far side, we've got Becky Heel. Woo! Nikki Blackburn Fuller. Woo! Matthew Esko. Woo! Right, Nancy Moos, are you still here? Nancy. Beautiful. David, Monica, Tristan, Amanda, boom. Thank you so much. It's been a great service. Come on and join us out, and you can help us take the shade structure in. Oh, no, wait, we're going to eat. You guys earned it. Let's go eat.